Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we've got a Tyranid Detachment ranking for you guys. Now, this isn't your typical just S tier, best detachment, F tier, bad detachment. We're going to be doing this a little bit more in depth. We're going to be looking at a matrix ranking. So I'll be comparing the detachment's power level versus the skill level. I think you need to pull off the highest level of tricks for the detachment. So some might be high power, but low skill. Some might be medium power, but high skill to unlock. So you guys will see how it ranks out. Hopefully it's something you enjoy and it's not just the normal tier ranking that people do, which is in some ways a little bland when you're just talking about detachment. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Just want to shout out to all of you awesome channel members for supporting us, allowing us to keep doing what we're doing. And thank you for liking, subscribing, all that stuff. Today's video is also sponsored by Adept Roll, a great Warhammer 40k math hammer app, but you'll hear more on them later in today's video. So with all that, let's dive right in. So ranking the Tyranid Detachments, we've got a bunch of them. We've got all of them in the Codex, and we had one bonus one, the Warrior Bioform Onslaught. Really hoping sometime this year we get one more of them, just something else fun to play with. But for now, we've got a great selection in my opinion. Well, we've got a decent selection. Now seeing the Eldar Codex, we don't have the best, but we've got a pretty good one. How we're going to be ranking these. So you'll see in a little bit, we have a matrix. I'm going to ranking them on basically a 1 to 5 scale of how powerful the detachment is and its potential. And then I'm also going to be ranking them at how challenging the detachment is. Some of our detachments, there's not a lot of shenanigans or tricks up its sleeve. It's just raw power and some good strats. Other ones, you know, on paper, there's potential, but there's a lot of manipulation to pull that off. So that's the main thing. Overall, I'll say right here, these rankings are my own opinion. I'm not going off of stat win rates of how they are in tournament play or anything like that. And I think Tyranids, if I'm being honest, are one of the more challenging armies to play. Our detachment rule is random sometimes at best. Shadow in the Warp is not a great detachment, great army rule. It can swing games drastically one way or the other. It can do absolutely nothing. Overall, Tyranids kind of have a 50% win rate, which is, you know, where we want to be. Maybe I predict in the coming months it might slip down to maybe a 48% win rate army. Our recent changes kind of only hurt some of the more winning lists, didn't really boost up any of the under ones, and a lot of the other armies may or may not have got a boost. But besides that, again, my rankings here. So let's start off with old reliable, and that is Invasion Fleet. So here's Invasion Fleet. You can see it in the detachments, detachment power level and the detachment difficulty. So weak for power level, weak, low, average, strong, OP. And then for detachment playstyle, easy peasy to play. It's a simpler detachment. Average, you know, some tricks, some no tricks. Difficulty, or it's difficult to pull off, and then hard is going to be you need your brain power every game to pull off your best performances. So Invasion Fleet was our index detachment. Really no changes when it came to the Codex. It's a great introduction to Tyranids. If you are playing Tyranids new, I'd highly recommend you do this one. Not a ton of thinking when it comes to playing the Tyranids. You just get more or less raw damage output. The biggest thing you have to think about is, are you going to choose the sustained or are you going to choose the lethal? There are some shenanigans you can do with manipulating that. Your stratagems are pretty much just durability in a way. The ones you really use are the 5-up Feel the Pain one. If you're running more of a swarm list, you're going to use the Bring Back Gaunts one. And maybe use the other ones to crit on 5s. But it's pretty much it. Otherwise, you're using your strats for core stratagems. Everything works. There aren't a ton of key units, though I do think Maleceptors stand out here more than any detachment. Specifically because of that 5-up Feel No Pain strat really makes the Maleceptor a durable beast. And then Gaunts, because this is, spoiler to the future detachments, this is the best way to play a swarm list right now, or arguably the best way to play a swarm list. The guns do really well in this one if you can play them right. So that's Invasion Fleet. So today's channel sponsor, like I said, is Adept Roll, a brand new Math Hammer app, state-of-the-art Math Hammer app. Now, you might be saying, what is Math Hammer? And that is what we're doing in today's video, is calculating all of these odds, how likely you are to do something, what is the average damage, things like that. I use the app to do all of the calculations today. I could have done them myself. It would have taken me significantly longer, but today's app, today's sponsor, makes this awesome. So right now you can check out the links below. You can get it on iOS and Android. There are two different versions for the app. There is the free version, which gives you a large number of features, but if you want even more features to dive even more into the weeds, there is a paid version as well. So we have a little bit of a screen cap happening right here, essentially showing you everything you have that can go through here. So right now you can see we are adding the units we want to do. Some Tyranids here. We're going to have some Hormigons. They show you their profile already loaded into the app thanks to the creator. And you can add some results of how many of them you want to do. So in this case, we want 20 Hormigons attacking. We're going to give them some buff for maybe a stratagem here. And then we're going to go up against a specific opponent, and those are the Cadians. And you can see that these things do 24.95 wounds to the Cadians. So it completely overkills the 10-man squad. And if you saw in here, it gives you point values. It gives you all the other specific buffs you could think of. So if you want to talk about a strat to include, if you want to think about any other generic buffs, maybe you're Tyranid player, you're looking at a Hive Tyrant and his lethal bubble. You can include lethal hits on here. Maybe you're looking at some other thing. This is not just Tyranid related. And you have something that crits with sustained hits on 5s to hit. Well, it'll account for that. Maybe it does sustain and lethal. It'll account for that. Anything you can think of is in this app, and you can really just test all of the numbers and see, really, is your attack worth it to go after? So a great app. I really have enjoyed playing around with it. So check out the links below to get to Adept Roll. Download it, try it out for yourself. Let the creator know what you think. Thank you again, Adept Roll, for sponsoring it. And now back to the video. Going into Synaptic Nexus now. Right now, it's kind of a conflicted or confused detachment. I like to say it. It looks like it focuses on a lot of psychic shenanigans, but the detachment rule, the imperatives, do not help the psychic bugs out. It helps the melee bugs out. So it's potentially a good all-around army, but even then, that's not where the strength of this detachment really lies. So I'm putting the power level at a low power level. There's not a ton of oomph that it can give, and what oomph it can give requires a lot of tricks to pull off, and it is reliant on our good stratagems, the good enhancements, and then Shadows in the Warp and Battle Shocking is also what this is. If you don't know, if you're newer, the stratagem, Smothered in Shadows. Whenever a unit fails Battle Shock, if they're within 12 inches of one of our Synapse creatures, 6 dice, I guess 66. 6 dice on 3 pluses, that unit takes a mortal wound. That is one of the best strats in the game, in my opinion. It just, because Tyranids have ways to trigger Battle Shock in every single phase, just about, it's a good one. You want to play into it. But because Battle Shock is not reliable, especially against Marines, or Marine type armies, so Marines, Custodes, and, well, I guess Marines, Custodes, they have and I guess Chaos, they have really low leaderships, which you can't reliably trigger. So you have to rely on things like the Synapse bubble to reduce Battle Shock, the Neuro Tyrant to reduce Battle Shock, only in Shadows, of course. There's an enhancement where if a unit is close, within 6 inches of the bearer, their leadership is lower. You have the Screamer Killers who give a -1 to their Battle Shock. So you need to pull off a lot of those tricks, and it's not reliable, but if in a perfect storm you get those Battle Shocks, you're doing really well with this detachment. You're probably taking Neurolictors, which will boost you up. But again, that's all Battle Shocky stuff. Then you've got the imperative, the special rule, which helps the melee stuff. It's conflicted in my opinion, as I said right away. It helps. there's too much going on and it's not directed one way or another. So I put it down here, and that is where it is. Key units, like I said, Neurotyrant, Neurolictors in this detachment. Now we go to Unending Swarm. As it stands right now, March 2025, this is one of the worst detachments in the entire game. It is extremely weak, and it is extremely difficult to pull off anything with it. Once it was a great stratagem. A couple people had taken it to tournaments to go undefeated or score really well. I took it to a 5-0 event, but multiple nerfs that weren't necessarily these guys' fault. Some of them were, some of them weren't, has seen this detachment just become gutted. The stratagems, okay, you have the 1-2 CP strat to bring a Gaunt unit that died back into strategic reserve. You can only do that once now, once per game, not once per phase or battle round or whatever. The enhancements are bad. Objectively, when I played this, I never took the enhancements. I still think if you really want to play this, don't play this detachment. But if you do, never take the enhancements. The detachment rule, like I said, now is quite poor. It gives you the surge move on the Gaunts, but they have limited it to now once per turn or once per battle round, or I guess not battle round, once per turn phase. Really, it's just in the shooting phase. Instead of over and over again. So you get one shot at it, at rolling decent and manipulating stuff with your detachment rule. There's a lot of combos that you could potentially play out with it. And really, because you're using those on Gaunts, they most of the time amount to nothing, but you need to pull off a lot of things to make those combos work. So it's just kind of meh there. And damage output, really, this is about positioning, not damage dealing, manipulating your key units. And yeah, again, it's cool in theory, and it was a really good detachment. Not OP in my opinion, but it has seen enough nerfs where it is just swept under the rug. Key units, all the Gaunts, that's what you want on this list. Venom Thropes are also a very powerful unit as well, because it supports those Gaunts. Now we have my personal favorite, the Assimilation Swarm. This is a recently buffed detachment, so I played a lot of this in its old state, and I loved it to death. Really tough to pull off, all of its shenanigans, but if you practiced it a lot, you could make it work. Now it has been buffed. It is a lot less restrictive of a detachment rule, and it's even a bit buffed in the healing it does. So fantastic stuff there. I think this is great. Really good tricks. It does play to some niche roles where it still has a limited focus on units as it has the Harvester units. Now we have a few extra Harvester units, well, a extra Harvester unit in the Norn Assimilator. Still not sure if he is really the best thing to do with this detachment, but if you do want to use him, he is fun and he can be quite annoying to deal with in this detachment. Tyrant Guard and Hive Tyrants are awesome, whether it's a Foot Tyrant or Swarm or both. They are awesome in this detachment as well, bringing back a full Tyrant Guard every single turn and multiple because of out of phase healing is fantastic. The stratagems in this detachment are okay. They're good, but you do want to use them because where they excel is the fact that you can kind of stack them. If you get to stack a lot of them on top of each other, lots of different healings and stuff, it just compounds the faction rule, which is good. The enhancements, in my opinion, are some of the best in the Codex. The Fight First, conditionally Fight First, is great on Gene Stealers. It's great on Warriors. It's really good on a Hive Tyrant Brick. The +1 Strength is always nice to have on top of our Synapse units. There are some other ones to increase our faction rule. So all in all, really good ones. It does still have its weaknesses. I am talking it up a lot because I love it. It has its weaknesses. It does not do well against very heavy shooting armies because it is kind of more of a hold your ground, let the opponent come to you. It bullies melee armies to pieces. But if it's a really good shooting army that can get through your bulk, you don't have a lot of ways to counter it so much. So still a good detachment in my opinion if you're able to make it work. It's not the easiest one, but those of you who practice it a lot and know what you're doing, it's still a great detachment. And we've got Crusher Stampede. This is probably people's favorite, at least those of you who like the big monsters. Recently, in some ways, has seen a slight nerf with the point increase to Exocrine and Tyrannofexes. Those units, or those Crusher Stampede lists, were often bringing 2 or 3 of each. So even a 5-point increase to, or 10-point increase to them, you're going to probably have to lose at least one of the monsters, which is fine. Still a good detachment. It does take a little bit of practice because you have less tools at your disposal, moving around the board, doing actions. You got to be a little careful. The stratagems in the detachment are pretty good ones. The enhancements are bad. I don't think I typically ever bring in an enhancement in this list unless I have points left over. The one to give a Hive Tyrant 3 extra OC is pretty nice, and it can come in clutch at sometimes. But other than that, they're not great enhancements. Crusher Stampede often plays as a stat check army. For those of you who don't know what that means, is you are an army of high toughness monsters. If your opponent does not have the tools to deal with all of your high toughness monsters, you're probably going to be playing an easier game on your end. If your opponent does have the tools to deal with all of your big monsters, then you got to be careful because you can lose your stuff pretty quick and you don't have a lot of units to work with. So again, it'll be a harder game for you. This one is a little bit up to the pilot, the player of the Tyranid force on how you're going to play it. Again, you can go kind of more melee, more shooty. Typically, Tyranids, our shooting is pretty good when it comes to our monsters, so that's what it leans toward. You just have to learn, don't throw all of your monsters out at once. Learn to trade properly, learn which monsters are more sacrificial lambs, and which ones are your real heavy hitters, sort of thing. Some key units. The Norns, I've been always one of my favorites in Crusher Stampede. It allows them to always hit on 2s for the most part. There are some good strats that help boost their damage and durability, and the enhancement if they get, or the faction rule if they get to that +1 to wound stage. Now their melee actually threatens most things in the game, so I like it a lot. At Tyrannofexes and Exocrines, of course, you're probably going to want 2 of each. They're your real firepower, and if the Tyrannofexes can kill your opponent's anti-tank stuff, then you're looking to be in a good position there. Next, we have Vanguard Onslaught. This one is probably the highest skill cap army. It has got very, very powerful tricks, but it requires a lot of planning, practice, and foresight to pull off said tricks. So it's going all the way down here in the very strong, but hard to pilot. I like to call this the sneaky shenanigan-based detachment. You're not about, in a way, you are just flooding your opponent with models, but you also have to be tactical with it. It's not just Zerg Rush, run everything up the board. You got to use your stratagems, which you have really good stratagems, to move block, to close the gap, steal objectives, trap your opponent, but not expose everything to just die right away. Because most of the models you're bringing in this detachment are pretty fragile compared to outside of just playing Gaunt Swarm. This is probably going to be your most fragile detachment, the exact opposite of Assimilation Swarm. Some ways to manipulate your durability. There's the Lone Op strat, which is really powerful. But outside of that, that helps your long range shooting. When it gets to close range, it is what it is. So this does have a tendency to be matchup dependent. If you go first against an opponent that you match up well into, Vanguard Onslaught has a great chance of winning. But if you go second against a matchup you're not good at, Vanguard Onslaught have a good chance of losing. I'm thinking Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights are 2 of the big ones where you are going to struggle. As well as Demons, if you have more of a greater demon spam, they're going to really struggle against this one as well. Otherwise, the typical list consists of, or the typical detachments are more CP hungry, so sometimes you see a Flyrant in there to support. But yeah, it comes down to a lot of the manipulations of movement, stratagems, everything has to kind of be perfect, and every unit in this detachment really has to pull their weight at the same time. So lictors and neurolictors are some of your key units for the manipulation, scoring secondaries, points, primaries, all of that stuff, while your gene stealers and your warriors are going to be more of your bulkhead, do the damage type of units. So Vanguard Onslaught, a very good detachment, but it does take a lot of practice to pull off and play properly. Finally, we have Warrior Bioform Onslaught. This is the newest detachment and one I've been playing a lot this year in 2025. I've been loving it. It's a lot of fun. Knock on wood. Time of filming this. Have not lost a game with it. I had one tie, but have not lost a game with it yet. I'll be going to an RTT soon. A couple RTTs and a GT to see if I can pull out something with this one. So I like it. It is very situational though. So I find that, so it works, you guys know, ranged warriors and melee warriors. Those are the key units. They all get their 5-up invones. They get OC3. It's all about using them. I find that the ranged warriors are not what you want to focus on. It's nice to bring a couple units of 3 to be your action monkeys or support, whatever the case is. But I have found that you really want as many melee warriors as possible, within reason. I have been currently running 4x6 ever since, like I said, ever since I've been running 4 units of 6 melee warriors, have not lost a game. And I've played every opponent, roughly, except for, I have not played the new orcs, and I have not played new Eldar with them. I think those lists will do good against a warrior spam, but I haven't played them yet. It's not too complex of one to run. It is really just, here's my block of warriors, send in one, do the damage, see if they survive. If not, send in the next one. The reason I like the 4 units of them is on turn 2 I can charge with a melee unit, on turn 3 I can charge with one, turn 4 I can charge with one, and if I still need to on turn 5 I can send in another one. Maybe one has to go to a flank objective or something, but those are typically reserved for the ranged warriors to kind of babysit. Again, it's not too complex. Your stratagems are very straightforward. You've got the one to boost the durability of your warriors at range. You've got one to heal a warrior. You've got one to turn off cover. And I can't even remember what the other ones are. Oh, boost strength. The boosting strength of any unit is very powerful at range and melee with the melee warriors. So yeah, the stratagems, not a lot of shenanigans with them. The enhancements are all fantastic. I wish I could take all 4 of them at some times, but they are expensive at 20 points per. And then I guess one is 10, one is 30, averages out. But yeah, it's a good detachment, but I really think that unless you can run 3 to 4 blocks of 6 melee warriors, it's not going to do what you want it to. I really find that the strength in this detachment is the melee warriors and the punch they can deliver while having actually some level of durability in this detachment compared to every other one. So that's where it ranks out. We can see our final ranking here. We've got 3, in my opinion, 3 strong detachments, but they vary in difficulty. We've got some average ones, and we've got some that could see some tuning or love. Maybe GW will fix them. Closing thoughts. I will say, again, Tyranids are one of the harder detachments to play. They rely on a lot of units coming together and working properly to pull off their combos. And if pieces start dying off too soon, your combos start dying off too soon, and then your power level dies off too soon. So they aren't like they were in 9th edition where they just slam models at your opponent and kill. It really does rely on you thinking ahead, planning carefully. You're not necessarily the big scary bug that just runs at your opponent. Their faction, like I said, shadows can be very, very swingy. I've had games where absolutely devastate my opponent, 15, 20 point swing when it happens. And I have ones where my opponent passes all the battle shock except for a useless one. Nothing came of it, and because of that, I needed to flip the 5 or 10 points, and I lose. It is what it is. You can't rely on it, which is why I don't like it. Every other faction in the game, you can rely on their faction rule, and in this case, you just can't. No matter what detachment you play, stick to the Tyranid strength, and that is secondary scoring. Tyranids are one of the better armies at secondary scoring. You've got Biovores, Raveners, Gargoyles, Lictors. All of these things can be used in all of the lists, all of the detachments here. And that is what makes us good at scoring, as well as playing the mission, you know, controlling primary. You're not necessarily going to out-primary your opponent, but you should try to balance the primary with them every game, and then you should come out on top with secondary scoring. That's typically how Tyranids win in this edition. So that is pretty much what I got. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think my rankings of these are, you know, do you agree with them? Do you disagree with anything I put there? Again, my opinion's not going off of win rates and stats at tournaments. This is just how I feel. I have played every detachment here. Just about brought every detachment to some large amount of events, whether they're team tournament, GTs, whatever it is. I've played just about all of them extensively, so I kind of know, in my opinion, which ones I like. And again, maybe it's based on my playstyle. One more thing before I go, just want to keep mentioning the Shopify site. It doesn't get a ton of outward reach, so I pointed out here, but if you like some 3D prints that kind of boost your Tyranid collection, not full one-to-one copy models, but they are torsos to make your kits the furthest, just check out the link below. You'll probably find something you could use. And if you do purchase it, supports the channel. Thank you guys for doing that. That's all we got. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.